Woody Wommack joined by Mike Farrell for the latest edition of our weekly podcast that doesn't have a name, but you're listening to it somewhere or watching on YouTube. Mike, how's it going?
Good. We should call it what? We need alliteration, like fat guys, but there's no good word.
Yeah, I don't know. If you have an idea for a name for what you want to call it, I've just been calling it Farrell Pod. I haven't even put my name in it. That's what kind of person I am. I'm so humble.
How about Chubby Chatter?
Chubby Chatter's pretty good. It doesn't have a lot of SEO value, but
No, but it's still fun.
All right, let's jump into it. Let's talk first about last week's games right away. Alabama, I wouldn't say dominated Georgia, but sort of put them away effectively there in the second half. What was your biggest takeaways from the game?
How good those receivers are, how good Najee Harris is. Mac Jones is obviously, a very serviceable quarterback, and he's a Heisman candidate. It's just so much fun to have guys like that. The way Waddle can just make a short play into a long play, the way Devonta Smith just fights for the football, and the way Najee's just a weapon in the passing game and in the running game. And this game got out of hand when Stetson Bennett played like, a two-star walk-on. I mean, that's for Georgia to be the number 3 team in the country, to have this as their quarterback situation is, Georgia fans get upset because it's an indictment of Kirby Smart in some way, shape, or form. This would not happen under Nick Saban. This would not happen under Urban Meyer. And if it did, when Nick Saban had to start Jalen Hurts, they would be 4-star kids out of high school, and he would work the offense around them. But, he started to play like a 2-star, and he made a couple key mistakes, and you can't do that against this Alabama offense. And I thought the Alabama defense was fair, not great, but that offense, if you just turn the ball over, you're dead. They're just so explosive.
So do you think, okay, to further touch on Stetson Bennett in Georgia, everyone's penciling in a rematch here in the SEC title game, and I think Georgia would have to lose twice for that not to happen, and like Florida or somebody would have to win out. But do you think Georgia's ceiling is limited because of Bennett? Obviously he made some plays, especially early, but like you said, he struggled. So would you say they do have a limited ceiling because of him at quarterback?
Yeah, people forget Mac Jones was a 4-star. They just think he's some sort of scrub that they took.
I read an article that said he was very unheralded. Did you see that?
I didn't. I missed it.
Oh, you missed. I went on a Twitter rampage about it.
Bryce Young obviously is a 5-star kid and got a lot of hype, and I thought he would take over the reins of the offense, but Mac has done nothing to even allow any sort of question regarding his abilities and leadership. But, he's a 4-star kid. He's been groomed in the system. When you look at Alabama, when you look at Georgia, JT Daniels is clearly not ready physically, or else I think he would have played by now. And he might play soon. That's a 5-star transfer. They kind of fell into that one. But these teams that are highly ranked in the country, like Notre Dame with the book, that don't have very good quarterbacks, doesn't matter how good your defense is, you're just not going to be able to beat teams like Alabama and Clemson and Ohio State with those guys. So, what did Kirby do wrong? Nothing, I guess. Jacob Eason started as a freshman, got hurt. 5-star Jake Fromm took over, was serviceable, led him to a national championship game, SEC title games, didn't stay for his extra year. But, Justin Fields was an afterthought, kind of a gimmick type of guy that they put in as a freshman, didn't give him any reps that he really liked. He leaves, you're left with Fromm. And then after that, it just turns into a disaster. You rely on transfer quarterbacks in a COVID year, and you're in trouble. And that's how you get Stetson Bennett as your starter. Not a bad quarterback, but not a quarterback that's going to lead you to a national title. So I guess some of the blame has to go on Kirby, but people will ask me, well, what should he have done? And in hindsight, you can't really kick Fromm out of the nest for Fields, or can you?
Well, okay, so that's what I want to talk about. So you look at us, you look at like, okay, Clemson and Dabo Sweeney. Kelly Bryant led them to the playoff after Deshaun Watson left. Had a whole season. The next year he came in, he was the starter. And after 3 or 4 games, Dabo said, "Look, we got to go with Trevor. Like he gives us ultimately the best chance to win." Kelly, you've been here for. I mean, Kelly Bryant was a 4 year guy. It wasn't like it was a sophomore against a freshman, and he had to get rid of him. And guess what? It worked out well. And we've seen some other guys have to make the tough decision. I mean, wasn't it? It was Urban Meyer when they moved Braxton Miller to wide receiver that last year, right? It was a similar
Yeah.
decision where you had to say, look, thanks for everything you've done. Here's your watch. and
Yeah.
it's tough. I remember the argument. It's like, how do you bench Fromm? He was one play away from winning the national championship. But I mean, if they had Justin Fields at quarterback, you can make the argument that Georgia would already won one or would be the favorite to win one this year by far. So
Yeah. I mean, people say you can't have too many quarterbacks. You can have too many quarterbacks. You just got to manage it properly. I mean, because you got to remember that Trevor Lawrence not only led to the departure of Kelly Bryant, but Hunter Johnson, who's been a massive bust, but he was a 5-star talent. Chase Bryce, 4-star talent now at Duke. They were recruiting at a high level at quarterback at Clemson, and they just handled it right because they saw what they had in Trevor Lawrence, and Georgia didn't see what they had in Justin Fields, and he got impatient and took off. So, again, I don't know. What would I have done? I don't know. I mean, Fromm did lead you to a national championship. I guess you got to feel the locker room and see what they loved Fromm, I guess, and rallied behind him and all that stuff. But if I'm sensing that the number 2 quarterback in the country, who is just behind Trevor Lawrence in talent, is unhappy, I'm making him happy. I'm letting him play. I'm getting him in there much, much more than just, tuck and run or a fake punt. You have to do something. And that's what I'm curious about Alabama with Bryce Young, because that's what I thought would happen here, is that Mac would struggle in one game and then Bryce Young would come in and then Nick Saban wouldn't make the same mistake. But Mac hasn't struggled. Alabama looks good. And it's clear this year, I think there's 3 teams. And I don't know who the 4th team in the playoff would be, but whoever it is going to get waxed.
all right. So do you expect these two to rematch then in the SEC title game?
I do. I don't think Florida can fix that defense, at least not to the point they need to. I think the Georgia defense keeps them in football games. The running game, the offensive line, controls the clock. They can play power football. They just need to solve the quarterback question. If they do go, back to the SEC championship game against Alabama, they're going to get waxed again if they don't fix the quarterback situation. That's the key.
All right, moving on. Tennessee, boy, we're back on this topic. I wanted to dig up some of your, because I remember last year you were ready to fire Pruitt in like week 3, and then by the end of the season you changed your mind.
I'm always flopping around, man.
Right, which I love to bring up to you, at least privately. Now I can do it on a podcast, makes it more fun. But they just got killed by Kentucky, and I mean, it was a situation where especially look at the stats. I mean, it wasn't that lopsided, but the Jared Garantano throws 2 pick sixes in the second quarter, and then it was just downhill from there. I mean, it was 17-7 at half, and you're like, okay, it's 17-7, but they scored on 2 pick sixes. Kentucky's not doing much, and then next thing you know, you look up and it's 34-7, and Tennessee played 3 different quarterbacks in the game, and then today, or I guess last night, the news comes out that they fired their defensive line coach, which, I don't even know if the defensive line was the defense at all was really the issue. What's your take on another Vols in the news situation?
Yeah, this wasn't good because obviously it's the first time Kentucky's won at Tennessee in 100 billion years, and that's never a good look. You can't overcome 2 pick sixes, I don't believe. When we were scouting and evaluating Garantano, all the Vols fans thought he should be a 5-star, and I saw him against IMG, which had a ton of talent. and he went head to head with Shea Patterson, who, obviously didn't live up to the hype either. But when I saw him in practice at the Under Armour week, he was very, very good in the game. When pressure came, he had no idea what to do, and it really concerned me. So we didn't drop him. We kept him as a high 4-star. He could run, he could pass. We thought he'd be a kid that gets developed. I don't know what's happened. I don't know if he's thrown in too soon, but he's not the solution. This is a horrible loss. I put out something today about, were they better off with Butch Jones? I don't think so. My answer was fiction to that, because I think Tennessee is playing harder. But Pruitt's clearly sending a message. You're 2-2 in the SEC. You're 2-2 overall. You lose to Kentucky for the first time in forever, and you fire a coach. He's not waiting like a lot of these guys do to have the athletic director come to him and say, "Listen, you got to make some changes." He's doing it himself. So I do like that. That being said, they're going to get waxed by Alabama, so they'll be 2-3, and it'll get worse for Vol Nation as far as the Jeremy Pruitt love fest that has been going on. Didn't they win 9 straight games before this all fell apart? Or 8?
8, I think. Yeah, they were on it. They finished. Yeah. I mean, they went on that run last year, and even during those wins, Garantano was getting yanked in and out. Remember, Brian Maurer was starting games, and I think Garantano was coming off the bench as like a reliever. But
there are certain jobs in college football that you cannot be successful at as a head coach. Tennessee is one of those, and I'll tell you why. Unless you win a national championship, unless you do what Philip Fulmer did and have your team as a juggernaut in the SEC, you're a failure. I mean, this is a guy who's taken over a pretty horrible program, a bunch of kids that didn't want to play. He's recruited okay, but he's got them to play hard. He's improved in a lot of aspects except for the quarterback situation. It's a 5th-year kid he threw out there who just looks like a freshman. But, 8 straight wins for Tennessee fans, and then he loses 2, and it's over. He's awful. We got to get rid of him. It's just Tennessee has that expectation that remains from Philip Fulmer. Nebraska has that expectation that remains from the late 1990s. Miami has an expectation of the U when they were dominating. I don't think anything is good enough except for SEC titles and national championships, and that could wear you down as a coach. It could hurt you on the recruiting trail as well. So I think Pruitt's got him going in the right direction, but it's not enough for the fans.
All right. Moving on. The SEC as a whole, it was a rough weekend at the quarterback position outside of Mac Jones. We talked about Stetson Bennett. We just talked about Garantano. Matt Corral threw 6 interceptions. Bo Nix looks like he's getting worse every game. KJ Costello, definitely not what we thought after week 1. What's going on down there in the SEC with the QBs?
I don't know, man. I mean, it's just awful. I mean, I put up something on Twitter like which quarterback, and I can only have 4 pictures, which SEC quarterback sucked the most. And Twitter allows you only 4 pictures. And I wanted to fit like 6 or 7 in there. It's just bad. I mean, when you throw pick sixes like Garantano did, when you throw 6 picks, and Matt Corral looked great against Alabama. And then he throws out a game like this. And KJ Costello looked great against LSU. And now he's been awful. The quarterback play in the SEC, Bo Nix, talented kid, looks horrible. It's just they're not getting developed. I'm not really sure who to blame. Obviously Garantano's been through a couple coaching changes and, coordinator-wise and offensive scheme-wise. But Bo Nix has been with Gus. This is his 2nd year and should be getting better, and he's not. He's regressing. And Gus, his offense is so high school. It's frustrating to watch if you're an Auburn fan. Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin's an offensive genius, except when his quarterback's throwing the ball to the other team all the time. Really bad week, so it makes you appreciate a little bit more the Kyle Trasks of the world and of course, Mac Jones of the world, and of course, the Kellen Monds of the world. Mond isn't great, but I mean, he didn't make mistakes. And I guess if you're going to win in the SEC, you got to be mistake free. And that's just not the case. So Bennett was awful too. Just SEC quarterback play has been bad, and it seems to be getting worse. So I think that's going to be the real difference maker. When it comes down to the playoff and the national championship, you're going to have Trevor Lawrence. You're probably going to have Justin Fields. You're going to have Mac Jones, and then you're going to have some team that doesn't have a good quarterback. And I picked Alabama to win it all at the beginning of this year. I kind of want to change that. And I don't know. I change stuff all the time, so I might as well. Clemson, they don't have the weapons that they're used to, right? Ross is out. But these guys are starting to mature and grow. Ladson, Nada, Rogers is back healthy. They've got enough to just blow out any football team. So Clemson is probably the team to beat.
Let's talk about Gus Malzahn. You mentioned we're here again. Okay, is he on the hot seat? Blah blah blah. He's got somehow. A few years ago, he was going to get fired, and they had a good season, and now he has a $20 million buyout. Like,
yep.
I don't understand these coaches or these ADs giving extensions. Where was he going? What they always say, oh, it's for recruiting. Recruits have no idea what any coach's contract status is. They have no clue. They don't consider it in any way, shape, or form. So what do you think? Is this the year that it finally happens? Because, I mean, you mentioned the change at OC. It just seems like they're headed for a 6-4 type of season in the SEC to me, maybe at best.
I think the buyout could save them. It's again we're in a pandemic where athletic budgets are down, and eating $20 million or whatever it is not easy to do. And I don't understand why these guarantees are in these contracts. I mean, agents are 80 times smarter than university presidents and athletic directors, like 80 times. Because, when you get a Willie Taggart to go one season at Oregon and then get that guaranteed money from Florida State, like who's gonna steal him away? Were you that worried he was going to stay at Oregon?
Right.
You could have gone after Stoops, but then you would have offered him $20 million. Mark Stoops, guaranteed. Like, why? And some of these coaches are in their first opportunity, and they still get these ridiculous contracts with all the guarantees. So until they figure out how to stop doing that, these guys are going to be given chance after chance. I think Malzahn is on the hot seat for sure. I think he survives, just because of the athletic department and the financial strain that's been put on all these colleges. But, look at what Jimbo's getting at A&M.
Well, he got a fully guaranteed deal, but I mean, even so, he's 3 years in now, so that obviously has come way down from where it's at. But yeah, he's not going anywhere anytime soon.
But was it really that important to get him from Florida State? I mean, what has he done? They're number 11 in the country, or probably top 10,
well,
10 now, like 8.
I think you can argue that, but at least he's a national championship winning coach. He's not. I mean, I guess Gus is also. Oh, Gus didn't win. He was the OC when they won.
Well, he kind of won. I mean, he was considered the coach. Chiswick wasn't really the guy, but I mean, even then, that's great. That's great, but it's not worth whatever Jimbo's contract is. I mean, it's just unbelievable. So now they're stuck with Jimbo, and Jimbo's doing a good job. I mean, okay. I mean, they got thumped by Alabama. They beat a Florida team, which I think is pretty good, but has a bad defense. They beat Mississippi State, who now we know stink. He's 3-1. They're a top 10 team in a weird year. But are they going to ever win the SEC? No.
It's going to be tough. All right, let's move on to Florida State and your North Carolina Tar Heels. A week after I said that North Carolina was average, they go and play average and lose. And what's funny is I said that on here, but then of course I picked them to win by like 13 and a half. I was like, oh, they'll cover that. No problem.
As well, they should have. I mean, this was ridiculous. This was just horrible defense. The defense is so bad, and they were trying to fix that up. The defense has shown that it's not a deep group, not a super talented group for the first few games, but they were really exposed because when this Florida State team with essentially a wide receiver playing quarterback is putting up points on you and moving the ball, and you have no answer for it. And I know there was a defensive touchdown in there, which always helps the offense. They just looked awful, but I still thought they were going to win that game because you just saw it. You saw Florida State was going to blow this game, and they should have had it not been for a few drops. And the one thing at the end of that game that really confused me was Mike Norvell, who I like as a coach, and I'm glad he got his first win, important win there at Florida State, and people can get off his back a little bit. He took that timeout. Bo Corrales, who I call the giraffe, who's 8 feet tall, was on the sidelines, winded, which allowed him to get back in the game. And then UNC on a key fourth down doesn't throw to the 6'6" guy who's catching everything and no one can cover. Why? Just lob it up to him. He had 4 catches, 141 yards, and a touchdown. They had no answer for him whatsoever. They had 5'10" guys on him, and they go to someone else. I forget who it was who dropped the pass, and they do have good receivers, Daz and those guys. Use the giraffe, man. That was bad coaching.
Yeah, they were chasing points too on the comeback. I mean, they went for it on fourth down on one drive and didn't get it. They did the 2-point conversions. I mean, they left essentially 7 to 10 points on the field during that comeback. But from Florida State's perspective, no matter how they did it, they won. I mean, we were texting during the game and we were just waiting for the collapse. So I mean, what does that say about at least Norvell? It seems like they've got the ball at least rolling here a little bit to where they're starting to move in the right direction, don't you think?
Yeah, they got some leaders on that team too, and I like that. And they're starting to buy in. So usually it's all about a program that's losing has to learn how to win. And so I thought this would be another example of a team like Florida State getting out to a big lead, then playing conservatively, which I didn't think they should have, and then just trying to hang on and lose. They didn't. They won. Marvin Wilson with a big pressure. Asante Samuel is playing well. That's big. That's huge. Because had they lost this game, it would have been so demoralizing that they would have just dropped, back down to the Florida State team we see get drubbed by everybody. This is a step forward. This is more belief in Norvell now. And this team will become a little bit more unified. They're still a couple years away from competing for anything because there's so many holes in the roster, especially at the quarterback position, because Willie didn't recruit a quarterback for 2 years. But it's a good sign. I mean, it certainly is a good sign. And listen, a good Florida State team is good for the ACC. It's good for college football. A horrible Florida State team, as we've seen the last few years, it's no fun. It's not fun for us. Just like Miami. I mean, people think I hate Miami. No, you just haven't been good forever. And I kind of, cut my teeth. Is that the expression?
Yeah.
On college football when you guys were the most dominant program in the history and wearing camouflage and showing up and kicking everybody's ass, and you're just not now. And it was a good win against Pitt this weekend. They're 4-1, 3-1 in the ACC. They're still not a threat as we saw against Clemson, but we need the Florida States and Miamis to be good because the sleeper teams are fun and they're nice. It's cute to have BYU in the top 10 or wherever they are, but nobody cares about that stuff. We need the power programs to be good. So I think it's really good for Florida State.
All right. Speaking of teams that we need to be good, or at least it's good for college football, the number 3 team in the country, which I can almost laugh even saying, Notre Dame. What's going on? I mean, we see their weapons, the rookies in the NFL making plays, Cole Kmet and Chase Claypool, but their offense, I mean, they're basically running an offense from when you first started watching football, whenever that was, so the single wing era or whatever. It's just milking.
Started with the single wing.
Yep. They played Louisville, which is, by all accounts, one of the worst defenses in all of college football, and they won 18-12, I think was the final score. I mean, they can't. This is not sustainable, is it? I mean, I would be worried about Pitt this weekend.
No, it's not sustainable. I mean, Pitt Obviously didn't have Pickett, and that hurt. They had Joe Yellen, who's not good.
They had my guy Davis Bevel in there. He kept them in
Yeah.
the game.
Well, remember Yellen was one of the 15 quarterbacks that Herm Edwards took in a class a couple of years ago. Remember?
Yeah, I remember. I
think
ranked
he's not
Bevel
good.
as a 4-star back in a couple years ago. So,
So, Pitt has a good team, but they were missing Camp and Pickett and some other guys, and they've got a really good defense. So, yeah, they're dangerous for sure. Notre Dame just looks like they don't. If they're not going to run the ball, and this is what I said at the beginning of the season, if they have to come back in a football game, they get down 2 scores, they're dead. They have no opportunity or chance to do anything. They've got a solid offensive line. They've got Kyron Williams at running back, and Tyree's a good change of pace guy, and they can run the football. They don't have weapons outside as far as receivers. They don't have that dominant tight end that we're used to seeing that can bail out the quarterback. Ian Book is a very, very average quarterback and not getting any better. The defense is solid, but not great. They're athletically solid, fundamentally solid, but they're not fast. So I really worry about this Notre Dame team. I mean, they're 4-0. They're number 4 in the country. They're going to get waxed by Clemson for sure. They could lose this week to Pitt. And I got a little single wing story for you here, too. So Matt Ryan, who will be a Hall of Famer, who was a top 3 pick in the NFL draft and obviously played at Boston College, where I cut my teeth on Boston College back in the Flutie days. Freaking ran he ran a single wing and a wing T in high school. So I'm evaluating this film, and he's running all over the place. I'm like, what the hell? We made him a 3-star. And he turned out to be a great player, obviously. And, Falcons suck. And he'd probably get in the Hall of Fame with his stats. He should have won a Super Bowl. But I just don't understand sometimes the offensive strategy for these coaches. I don't understand Gus at Auburn. I get Notre Dame. They have limitations. But that offensive game plan wasn't very good to me. I scratch my head sometimes when I see plays being called that are just awful and have no chance of going anywhere. So they might as well play, triple option or something at Notre Dame because they're just not able to pass the ball. Maybe they go to the old Georgia Tech offense and throw an A, B, and C back there and let Ian Book be the guy who distributes.
The score was 12-7. I said it was 18-12. I gave him way too much credit.
I flipped around. I haven't had a chance to watch the full game yet because it's atrocious football. It's just awful.
Do you know who their leading receiver is, if you had to guess?
Oh, gosh. No.
It's an old reminder, deep cut. Javon McKinley.
He's still in football?
Class of 2016. Yeah, 7 catches for 121 yards. And then it goes the running back, Kyron Williams, which Dave Lackford texted me during the game and said, Notre Dame's running back is named Karen. I was like, his name isn't Karen. Come on, Dave.
It's not Karen. And they got a guy who was their leading receiver against Louisville named Ben Skowronek. Have you ever heard of Ben Skowronek?
I have not. I assume he's a tight end. Let me look him.
No, he's a wide receiver from Indiana. Did we
have
stars on him?
I think he transferred from he might have transferred from Northwestern. This will test my football knowledge here. If a 2016 wide receiver, Northwestern, yes, 5'6", 3-star from Fort Wayne, Indiana.
So. I'm like, who the heck is that?
Yeah, boy, we got video interviews with him and everything. Go check out his profile.
Well, listen, I thought Kevin Austin was going to be like a really great slot receiver for them, and we saw him in many camps, and he was a talented kid. Tyree, I thought they'd utilize out of the backfield a lot more as a passer. This offense stinks. It's just horrible, and they're not going to beat Clemson. They're going to lose to Clemson probably by 40 points.
Yeah, I would set the line at least 3 touchdowns. I know they'll try to shorten the game, but I mean, geez. All right, moving on.
Louisville is the biggest disappointment in the history of 2020.
To you, I didn't
throw away COVID and all the other bad things that have happened. Louisville is horrible. Malik Cunningham's awful. Tutu Atwell, where are you? Javian Hawkins, what are you doing? You guys are horrible. 1-4, 0-4 in the ACC. This is an embarrassment.
I didn't think they were going to be very good, and I don't
Better
have a
than
whole lot.
this.
I don't have a whole lot of faith in their recruiting class. I mean, have you looked at their recruiting class?
I like this 2021 recruiting class. I think there's some players there, but they were pretty good last year. Solid.
Yeah,
Gives people some trouble.
you notice. I'm just saying, a lot of these players are the guys that were recruited by failure Bobby Petrino. Everyone liked to make fun of, but I mean, this is what happens. Sometimes people are so happy to, and Petrino was a disaster at the end, but you can't say he didn't bring in talent. The talent just quit on him, and now you got the new coach bump, and then all of a sudden it's back to reality. So
he's still recovering from that motorcycle accident.
Okay,
all right.
The Big Ten starts this weekend. Sort of a fun to have the staggered start to the season. I like it. I like it rolling out, but. Let's talk about it. I guess the biggest game is Michigan, Minnesota. We expect Ohio State to run the table, win the conference, though, right?
Yeah, and this is what the conference did to Nebraska, right? Because the conference is just the entire leadership of that conference is moronic and awful, just awful. Let's cancel football because we're the Big Ten and we're so prestigious. Everybody's going to follow us because we're like the Ivy League of Power 5 and Pac-12 is like, yeah. And then everybody else says, no, you guys are idiots. So, all right, let's roll it back. We're going to play. But I don't like this loudmouth Nebraska team and Scott Frost. He's been mouthing off a little bit. So we know what we're going to do. We're going to put them against Ohio State in the first game of the season. That'll teach them. And it's going to, because Ohio State's probably going to roll them by 50. But it's really not fair. I do like the Minnesota matchup against Michigan. I think Minnesota's going to win that football game. I think the loss of Nico Collins is going to hurt. And we don't know the quarterback situation there. We do know it's Joe Milton, who you have an interesting camp story about. We know Joe Milton. Ready? This is what we know of Joe Milton when we saw him in person. He's either going to throw it right on the mark, hit you in stride, or he's going to throw it 30 yards over your head.
Right. He has insane arm strength and arm talent in terms of if we're having a contest of who could throw the ball the hardest or the farthest, he's right there. The issue is the inconsistency. And I mean, if you go and look at it, one of the things that gave us a lot of pause with him when we were ranking him, because if you remember, we were kind of all over the place with his ranking. Was the inconsistency. I mean, even his high school stats, I don't remember being. I think we expected him to have a good year, and it was something he had 11 touchdowns or something. I'm gonna look him up right now.
Picks or something. It was a bad year.
Arm
talent though. He's the Felipe Franks of the Big Ten. And can we at least, just before we move on, give some props to Sam Pittman and Barry Odom?
How did we were talking about we were previewing the Big Ten.
I know, but I gotta go back. I know it screws up your video editing.
Yes.
Woo Pig Suey. Go Hogs. Man, this is exciting. That's a fan base that's just insane. You know how crazy they are? I just don't know because they haven't been winning, but they're nuts. I love it.
Okay. You want to hear how Joe Milton had 10 touchdowns and 6 interceptions as a senior.
And what did he do to you?
So we had you were there. We had the camp in Orlando, remember?
Yeah. No, I didn't see him do anything specifically to you.
You and Officer Friedman came down for a patrol to keep me and Rob in line, make sure we were evaluating the prospects properly. And we didn't give him the MVP. I think we might have, or invite him to the 5-star challenge. I think we might have picked Matt. Was that the Mac year? I'm trying to remember if they were in the same class. Anyway.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Oh, no, it was Joey Gatewood. And he was so mad that, I went to talk to him afterwards and be like, hey, we're not inviting everybody right now, blah, 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 the spiel we give. And he basically told me where I could shove it.
You gotta like that, though.
Right. And then he told me where I could shove it, told me, what I could do or whatever. And then we did end up inviting him. He told us no. Do you remember?
Yes, absolutely. Because this is the thing, you invite your 8 quarterbacks through the camp series for the 5 Star Challenge, and then somebody's got like a piano lesson or some excuse not to come. Um, and then you have to go back and see who the next best quarterbacks are that were at the camps. And Joe Milton was right on the cusp. And then we asked him, and he's like, no.
Yeah, he had no interest in he had definitely he had no interest in coming. He didn't care. I'm trying to go back and find the article from the camp to see where he fit in the equation with quarterbacks. But I mean, that was a loaded class. That was Trevor Lawrence's class. That was the Justin Fields class.
Yeah. And so it's probably good that he didn't come because we played that in the Indianapolis Colts practice dome, and he would have taken out a few lights, and we would have had to pay for those. Because can you imagine him in 7-on-7 play in that confined space where Trevor and Justin are throwing dimes? Matt Corral is just completely half awake, throwing the ball to the wrong people, and then there's Joe Milton just, I mean, decapitating people or hitting porta potties. I mean, that would have been a nightmare anyway. So we're glad Joe said no. We wish him well at Michigan. I just don't think he's consistent enough, to be the guy there, and they don't really have a whole lot behind him.
It's hard to say how much he's changed though. We haven't seen him in
Right.
3 years probably.
Well, we're just guessing.
Right. Yeah, the other two quarterbacks at that event were Joey Gatewood, of course, who's now at Kentucky,
Yep.
and Michael Penix, who's the starter at Indiana, who has been really good,
Yeah.
just had a couple knee injuries.
Well, we had more there too, right? I mean,
Right, but Penix won the MVP. Penix won the MVP, and Gatewood, I think, got invited to the 5-Star Challenge eventually. I guess
you're talking about that camp in Florida. Yeah, I think it's a 5-Star Challenge. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah,
That's a good group. And to this day, the 5-Star Challenge that Fields won with that pass to Amon-Ra St. Brown on the last play of the 7-on-7, and we gave Trevor Lawrence the MVP. Justin's father still hates me to this day, and probably has blocked me. I'm not sure. I'll have to check, but Justin certainly doesn't follow me anymore. And that was a interesting, because you remember I had to stand up and give the awards out. It was like midnight, and we had it was like a 13-hour day, and we were writing all our articles, and I go up there with my typical enthusiasm, and I'm like, quarterback MVP Trevor Lawrence. And I'm like, I'm getting in this picture because this is Trevor Lawrence. He's going to be the next Tom Brady. And then Justin Fields was pissed. He was not happy at all.
Well, I brought that up with him when I've seen Justin Fields somehow 5 times in the last 8 to 10 months. And he actually mentioned that last time I saw him. He's like, man, I didn't get that. He wasn't mad about his ranking. He was mad about not winning that award. And then I saw him at Elite 11, and we talked there. So he still likes me. He remembers me, but sorry, he's out on you.
He likes me because I just don't care. I like talking to kids and all that, but I don't care. I don't care, Kyler Murray, that your feelings were hurt, that you were a 4-star. You're 5'9". What do you want from me? The NFL's starting to figure it out.
Well, we did miss on that. We took the L on that one, though.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry, Dwayne Haskins, that you weren't, higher than 100 in the country, but you're a millionaire. I'm a loser sitting in my office talking into a webcam to Woody Wommack, surrounded by football helmets. I'm an absolute loser, and you guys are millionaires. So get over it, Sorry.
That's a good clip. I'm definitely saving that one. We'll put that one on your TikTok.
Can you? I need TikTok followers. I got 6. I don't know what to do on TikTok. Should I dance?
No, you shouldn't dance. We'll talk about it later. All right. Mike's Heisman watch. This one is an easy one. It's Trevor Lawrence against Mac Jones. Did you watch Trevor, some of the throws he made in that Georgia Tech?
Yeah, they're sick. They are sick. Because I deal with a lot of scouts too, right? Because we do some draft stuff, and a lot of the guys who are in player personnel in college go on to become NFL scouts, or some former players do. So there's a lot of kids that I knew in high school that I ranked in high school, and a lot of personnel guys, recruiting assistants that are in the scouting world. So I talk to them all the time, and the throws Trevor made, especially that one in the left corner of the end zone, they were just like, this guy doesn't need college. He should just be starting for an NFL team right now. He's got everything. There's no weakness that they can really find. He's tough. He takes hits. He gets angry. He threw that pick, and he was like, you knew, uh-oh. He was not happy. So they love him, and he's making all these NFL throws. He's my number one. Mac is my number two. And then it's really everybody else. I mean, Justin Fields obviously has to be number three. He hasn't played yet, but he's going to be up there for sure. And then I really don't know. I mean, I would put Najee 4 or Etienne. You got to throw a running back in there. And then my guy Herbert at Virginia Tech.
Oh, yeah.
They're undefeated. That kid's good. Kid's good.
Khalil Herbert.
He was out of Florida, and we had him at a 2-star.
Yeah.
Awful.
Well,
I'm not going to say we did that, but awful.
Kansas had some good running back evals with him and Puka, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. Puka. Puka. But Kansas and Missouri and those areas produce, some pretty good running backs. And I'm going to throw a couple of skill position guys in my Heisman thing just for fun.
Okay.
Khalil Pitts. He's it. He's got 7 touchdowns, I think.
Yeah.
Tight ends never won it, but he's really a wide receiver. And who's my other one? I already forgot.
Harris Marshall. He's got 7.
Marshall Jr. at LSU. Now LSU stinks. He's never got a chance, but man, is he putting up some numbers, huh? I mean, 21 catches, 424 yards, 7 touchdowns, living up to that 5-star, making us look smart. Terrace Marshall deserves a mention, but again, that team stinks so bad that.
Right. A lot of these guys don't matter. All right. Time for Mike versus Pro Football Focus. We forgot to do this one last week. Now we're going to do it. And who's your pick, Mike? Who you want me to look up?
I'm going to go with my new favorite running back, Isaiah Spiller, Texas A&M.
Besides Khalil Herbert.
He is kicking. Besides Khalil, I have a lot of favorite running back. Isaiah Spiller, Texas A&M is kicking butt. I think he has to be off the charts. Now, I don't look at PFF at all. I should, but I don't. So where is he?
All right. Overall grade on the year, 76.4. Grade as a running back, 79.7. The Alabama game hurting him. He only had a 53 in that Alabama game. And pass blocking. Oh, his pass blocking is terrible. 24.7, including a 14.5 against Mississippi State. Sometimes people don't factor this in when they think about young running backs. Sometimes just have an issue picking up their blocking assignments, and that's why a lot of them don't see the field early.
Well, that's why they don't start early in the NFL oftentimes too. And blocking is it's a forgotten art when it comes to running backs. But the first time you miss a block and your franchise quarterback gets destroyed, you're going to hit the bench. Fumbling and blocking will put you on the bench. And Spiller, obviously his blocking grade is pretty low, but I love the way he runs. He's decisive. He can bounce off people. He's got some big games when they needed him. The Alabama game is the only one keeping him down there, but I thought he would be a little bit higher than 79.
Yeah, 79 is not bad. Like I said,
Can you look up Herbert? Can you look at Herbert for me?
Yeah, let's look at Herbert. The Alabama game, like I said, that kills you.
Yeah.
He also
Alabama's front four is horrible, so that surprises me a little bit that he didn't have a better game. I know he didn't, but
he fumbled against Florida too, so that's going to
can't block any fumbles. Great.
Yeah, but 76 is still pretty good. I mean, I would imagine that's like top 30. Khalil Herbert, oh baby, 88.9 overall and a 91.8 as a runner. So
I'm going to tell you, I watch obviously Boston College for many different reasons. This kid is a baller, and he's getting no attention really nationally. Virginia Tech's undefeated. Hooker got all 3 of those touchdowns, but this kid dominated. And that's a BC team that can tackle. run to the football. He's awesome.
Yeah, he played a few games with Kansas last year before he transferred. He had a 87.2 grade. So I mean, he's grading out and that's that's up there with the best of the best. So there you go, Mike. Your scouting eye has been
Yeah, we made him a 2-star out of high school, and now he's on my Heisman list.
Well, I'm sure you never saw the dude, right?
No, of course not. Kansas?
No, he's from Florida. He went to American Heritage.
He went to Kansas, and I didn't see him. But a certain person lives like probably 5 minutes away from his school who should have seen him and should have seen this coming. So, but
at least a 3-star. Probably should have.
I digress. But again, I will tell you this: at least Rivals gives 2 stars, unlike anybody else. So we'll take the flack. But listen, if you give everybody a 3-star, you're never going to look really stupid.
Okay, so that was a fun segment. Forgotten 5-star of the week. This one was tough for me, just because I didn't watch a whole lot of the NFL. But a certain 5-star quarterback made an appearance yesterday late in the game. Did you see Blaine Gabbert?
No. Blaine Gabbert's still in the NFL?
That's right. Blaine Gabbert came in after Tom Brady had built such a big lead.
I watched some of that game too. I saw them talking smack to Aaron Rodgers at the half, and I thought that's not a good idea. But Aaron looked horrible throughout the game. But I didn't know. I thought Blaine Gabbert, my gosh.
Yeah, Blaine Gabbert still.
Has he been in?
Let's take a look at his career. I was trying to look at his stats there, and the music started playing.
I think he was a 2007.
Yeah, he was class of 08.
Yeah.
And he was number 14 overall, number 1 pro style quarterback.
So he lived up to the hype.
Yeah, he was a 1st-round pick. You did your part, especially going to Missouri.
Yep.
The rest of the family we've seen come through the pipe has not yet to. His brother went to UCF for a while, I remember.
They're starting some sort of scouting thing. They want to partner with us too.
But he's got cousins. I think his cousin is the quarterback of Miami of Ohio, or you got the whole family. There was one out in Washington that I know we were getting asked about. He only attempted.
Somebody wanted me to invite the cousin to our 5-star challenge. I won't name names, but somebody wanted a Gabbert there, so
he only attempted 1 pass and he didn't complete it. So he is in year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. He's in year 9. So
that's impressive. I did not know he was still in the NFL. So
good, I got you.
You did get me, because when you said 5-star quarterback, I'm like, okay, we all know Cam Newton is starting for the Patriots. We know Kyle Allen's starting for the Redskins. Stafford is starting for the line. Who the hell else is there out there?
So I'm 2-1 on the year. I stumped.
Yeah, Tyron Johnson, you didn't get me, but because he used to follow me though. Like Blaine Gabbert never followed me. This was pre-Twitter, so he can whatever.
It all goes back. It all goes back to Twitter. Well, Blaine, he actually, he had a decent time in San Francisco there, where he kind of resurrected things. I think it might have been the Chip Kelly season, where he had 10 touchdowns and 7 interceptions in 2015. And then he kind of meandered around. He actually played for Arizona in 2017, I think.
Do you want to know why he got resurrected in San Francisco?
No, why?
Ryan Day.
Ah, okay. Yeah, that was a Ryan Day time. And then he was on the Titans last year, which I don't even. Oh no, last year he didn't play for anybody. I'm sorry, he was on the Titans in 2018. He might have been out of the league last year, and then he is on Tampa this year. So that's why he was out.
Speaking of the Titans, I still don't think Derrick Henry's fast enough to be a 5-star. Yeah. You see that 94-yard run?
Yeah, I saw it. Nobody could tackle him.
I mean, I'm with my buddy who has him on his fantasy team, right? And so Derrick Henry breaks out, and I'm like, he's gone. He's like, no way. And he gets faster after 30 yards. He's just unfreaking believable. And then I look back at his Yulee stats, and then I look back at his Army performance, and I'm like, wow. You want to talk about every sign being there for a kid to be a 5-star, and we blew it.
I went and watched him play
And
In
they
the
probably put up 230 yards, right?
Yeah, but I still wasn't sold on him. I was like, nah, you know. And if you remember he came to Atlanta and played against like Buford or somebody and had like his worst game of his career, and a lot of people were saying he was overrated. You had people saying he couldn't. If you remember, it was he can't catch, number one, so he can't
Right,
move to tight end or another position.
right.
He's not going to catch the ball in the backfield. He doesn't like to tackle people, so he can't move to defense. And he's too slow. He's too big and slow. Guess what? We all were wrong. Everybody was wrong. A lot of coaches were wrong. Um,
Yeah, I got another 5-star one for you. Ready? This kid
okay.
was a 5-star. I'm gonna send this to you. This kid was a 5-star, lost his 5th star late because I got outvoted. Ended up as he was recruited as a tight end, ended up playing quarterback in college. And he's still in the league, and now he's one of the best tight ends in the NFL.
Oh, I saw him score a touch. He scored a touchdown yesterday. He was playing quarterback. Trey Burton.
No, 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 not Trey. Trey was
Oh,
4.
who?
Logan
Oh,
Thomas
Logan
is
Thomas.
still in the freaking NFL. Can you believe that?
I knew that. He's on the Cardinals, right?
No, he plays for that team in Washington.
Oh man, I'm way off then.
Well, my buddy was saying, why don't you pick up Logan Thomas at tight end? Because I had an injury. And I'm like, what? He was with the Cardinals as a quarterback the last I checked, like 100 years ago. Now he's one of the best tight ends in the league.
I knew he was playing tight end. I sort of ignored it. Damn, Trey Burton was only a 5.7.
Trey Burton, if you're watching this, Trey, which you're not, I loved you in that class because you were the most vocal recruit in that Florida class, and you were just fun to interview and all that stuff. But man, did you screw me, because I have Jonathan Taylor, and they did the direct snap to Trey, and he had the read to pitch or keep it, and he kept it for a touchdown, and Jonathan Taylor did not score. So Trey Burton, whatever. Thanks, appreciate it.
Yeah, he didn't get drafted either, man. But geez,
But he
come
was,
on.
you're right, he was a quarterback, and he converted to tight end, so that was a good guess. He was never a 5-star; he was always a 4. But Logan Thomas was a 5-star. He went to Army Bowl way back when. Somebody who used to work for us said, that's not a 5-star tight end. And he was playing wide receiver, so he didn't look great. But I thought he was a 5-star. Now he ended up being a very average quarterback for Virginia Tech, a very average quarterback in the NFL, but he's still kicking along. Those guys like Terrell Pryor and Logan Thomas, man, they're so athletic. They're going to find a way, I guess. So I was surprised he was still in the league, though. So I gave him a little follow on Twitter during the game, expecting him to go over the bench and see that and follow me back, but he hasn't yet.
Well, we'll keep the amount of times you bring up who follows you and who doesn't.
It's my
Across
whole life.
multiple podcasts.
It's my life, bro. I
We'll
have no life.
we'll stay locked in for the updates. All right, I went on the road this week. Man, I drove like 900 miles in 2 days. I should have done some videos or something, so I could get some credit for it. But I went and saw Arch Manning, of the Manning family. Now, I would say that, most people would agree I'm kind of like the resident hater of most players and people and teams and things. Uh, Basically anything you could imagine. So I went down there to see him for myself. It was on TV. You watched it. So what do you think?
Expecting to hate him, right?
Right. Oh yeah. Yeah. So are you sold on him? What do you think?
Not yet. He's young. He pushes the ball. His release is a little bit
Was
odd.
you're looking at that one the video you tweeted was from like before he played a game last year. That was like an eighth grader
No,
throwing
no,
it.
no. I watched the game too. He still has a little bit of a push delivery. It's still here. He's still got to, develop that a little bit better. When he does come over the top more consistently, he's very accurate. I'm not ready to say he's the next Peyton, or Eli or whatever. I think he's a very, very talented kid. He's 2023, so he's got tons of time, but all this hype around him, we got, well, I say this, I put up an Arch Manning video on my Instagram today, and I was like, Arch Manning is the greatest. He's the next Eli. Hype him up, but I'm pumping the brakes a little bit and just going to say he's good, but there are still some things he has to work on.
Well, I think he's a 5-star. I would make him an initial 5-star. I'm gonna say it. So the I think the people who watch the game on TV almost got worse because I heard that it was just nonstop on TV, and I think that sort of framed the reference for a lot of people. But I don't care what family he's from. I do believe in the nepotism bump, which I've pushed several times. Um, but to me, I've seen some other 2023 quarterbacks that some people are definitely going to rank as 4 stars to start. And if I'm comfortable, I'd be comfortable with him being one of the initial 5 stars, which we're still a few months away from that. But
Yeah, what do we do that in February?
yeah, it just depends. Yeah, probably February. But
I mean, he probably will be. I'm not saying to hate on the kid. I'm just saying he's not perfect. But the last big name to come out of there that should have been a 5 star and wasn't, Odell Beckham.
yeah, Odell Beckham.
And I'll tell you why. He was 165 pounds in high school. Literally 165 pounds. Really good. Almost better as a defensive back than he was as a wide receiver. Great ball skills. 165 pounds. Skinny as can be. But he's turned out to be pretty good, right?
Yeah, we have a video of him talking about whether he's going to play wide receiver or DB, and yeah, he's worked out okay. But
Solid.
all right, before we wrap up, one last recruiting thing. Rivals 100 athlete, I guess defensive back JaQuincy McKinstry. It
My
rhymes.
favorite name of the year.
They call him Kool-Aid. He's going to decide. It was assumed he was going to Auburn for months and months and months. Now it seems like he might be going to Alabama. What do you think about him? How do you see it turning out when he announces on Sunday?
Well, I'm going to tell you, nobody really knew what he was going
Yeah.
to do. So the people saying Auburn was they're just kind of guessing because Kool-Aid's kind of a quiet kid. You won't get a lot out of him. But it is Bama. It's going to be Bama. It's 99% Bama now. I don't know if Auburn ever led this. If they did, it's a big loss because he's a talented kid. Really good cornerback, and Nick Saban, when he wants those defensive backs, man, he gets them. So I got Alabama for him.
You see, when you do your Southern accent, you're not. You got to go Auburn. You got to say it.
I can't get there.
Auburn.
I can't get that. I don't think my mouth makes that shape. Being from the Northeast, I can't. Auburn.
Yes. No,
Auburn.
he likes Auburn a lot.
Auburn.
Or
Did
else
you like that though? That you know who I'm doing. I mean,
yeah, so that's an okay impression.
it's my favorite one though. It's the only one I do.
The kids down here also say Auburn as a. I like Auburn.
I could do a Gorney impression because what Gorney does is he repeats the last 3 words of what you say all the time. You ever notice that?
Not really.
So I'll say like Kool-Aid and McKinstry is going to go to Auburn, and Gorney will say, "Going to go to Auburn." Yeah, all the time.
Okay, be on the lookout for that one. Yeah, I think it seems like I guess it seems like Alabama has made a move, but I think this is a big loss for Auburn if they don't get him because whether or not I mean, they were the perceived leader for a long stretch here.
Did you notice my sneaky little weekend future cast? Jeremiah
No.
Williams to Florida.
Oh, you think they're going to lose him now too?
So Auburn class it's crumbling as we speak, and the fans are going to get very, very upset. So Williams was a big Auburn lead. He could still go to Auburn, but I heard that the Gators have made his mom comfortable with going away from home, and that he could be heading to the Gators. So that's 2 kids you locked into Auburn's class that are going to go elsewhere, and the Gus bus is it's going to be worse and worse on our message boards.
All right. Before we wrap up, you got anything to complain about?
Yeah, I got to pee. I should have done what you did. Gone before. Of course, I've had 2 full coffees. Complain about.
Recommend any TV shows you're watching before we.
I'm watching Ozark now. Have you watched it?
No, I always see that they film that right around here all the time. I see the signs, but I have yet to watch. People love it though.
It's good. It's solid, except it's a little bit far fetched because he's a money launderer and he's got the cartel on him. Then he's got a local bad guy on him, and now he's making deals with the Kansas City mob. So I'm in season 2. It's a little bit ridiculous. I did watch a really uplifting documentary last week called Chernobyl. Have you heard of it?
Wait, did you watch the documentary or did you watch the HBO show?
The HBO show. It's a remake, so it's not a documentary, but it's the HBO show. Have you seen it?
I didn't watch it. It was too like,
So good.
what, did you get to the part with the dog or whatever?
Didn't like that at all.
You're a dog lover.
I am a dog lover. I hated that. That was episode 4. I suggest you skip that one. But 1 and 5, amazing. Nuclear power is scary, kids. And those Russians, man, they just do not like to admit they're wrong ever. So that was a good one, too. And the social, what's it called? The social what?
The Social Dilemma.
I watched that. I thought it was overrated a little bit. Facebook is not programming how I think. It's not working.
Oh, Twitter's doing that for you.
Twitter definitely does. But no, that's it. I gotta pee. It's been a good cast. Watch it. You do the blurbs.
Yeah, I don't really have any recommendations or rants. I should have some because I've been on the road traveling, but yeah, well, I can do it another time. I was wearing my mask at the gym today and someone told me I should take it off. It's not good for me. But I told them, sorry.
I got a fight with Rex Chapman on Twitter. Did you see that?
Yeah, boy, I saw that. One of your Twitter heroes too.
I know, but come on. Like Nick Saban sending the wrong message by coaching.
Okay. You could say, listen, all of your anti-vaccine and mask stuff, save that for Twitter. We're not putting that on the podcast.
I know. I don't care. I just think it's so stupid to say that. It's a false positive.
Dr. Farrell.
I liked him as a basketball player. I thought he had one of the best dunks I've ever seen in the dunk contest, but my goodness, he's losing his mind.
Remember that shot he made for Phoenix in the playoffs where he was like falling out of bounds? It was like a buzzer beater to win. It was like 2 big shots and it was a 3 falling out of bounds. Remember that?
Yep. Do you remember that when he was with the Hornets, when he was in the dunk contest, he went between his legs, like around his back? It was one of the best dunks I've ever seen and nobody cared.
Yeah, well,
so good. He's a freak athlete, but listen, he's not thinking straight.
Okay. All right. Please leave us a review on iTunes, either on the Godfather and Gorney feed or the Commitment Issues feed. It helps us move up in the rankings. Be sure to check out the Rivals YouTube channel where you can watch us talk. And you could just listen there if you want. We make more money that way. So we prefer you watch it on YouTube, youtube.com/rivalsfeatures. So check that out. Follow Mike on Twitter at Rivals Mike. I'm at Rivals Woody. And let us know anything you want us to talk about. We will be back with another episode next week. Thanks a lot, Mike.
Thanks.